Hey, we're back for another Shocker basketball season, even though the season doesn't begin for a couple months. The schedule being announced today, not just the non-conference, but also Wichita State's Missouri Valley Conference schedule. I'm Bob Lutz. This is Paul Suellentrop. Looks like a really good non-conference schedule, and I'm wondering about the strength of the Valley again this season.
Yeah, I think with regard to the non-conference schedule, Wichita State's definitely turned a corner here in the last couple seasons, where now they've got some good teams locked in like Tulsa, and they're able to really attract some good non-conference opponents, and they're in those great exempt tournaments, which really helps.
And a lot of television games this season.
Yeah, if you're a Shocker fan, you should have no problems getting the Shockers on television.
We've talked a little bit, before we delve into the schedule, this team just looks loaded. You've seen them practice a few times. What are you seeing?
Yeah, a lot of guys. I think they've got, 18 guys on the roster, 5 of whom are walk-ons. And when 2 of your walk-ons are Connor Frankamp, who started at Kansas, who started his career at Kansas, and Peyton Allen, who started his career at Texas A&M, that gives you an indication of how much talent there is on this team.
Shockers open it with an exhibition against Hawaii Pacific. That's a long way to come for an exhibition.
Darren
Vorderbrugge, former coach at Northwest High School. Open the season on November 13th against Charleston Southern. Play a pretty good stretch of games to start the season.
Yeah, and clearly the highlight's going to be when they go down to Florida. If they end up playing Alabama or Xavier, and then it's kind of set up to maybe a championship match against Notre Dame in the final, and that'll be some excellent basketball and good opportunities for Wichita State to get some quality wins.
Yeah, you got Southern Cal in that tournament, the Shockers' first-round opponent, coming off a pretty down season, but I think they expect to be better.
Yeah, they've struggled under Andy Enfeld, who was probably most well known as the coach at Florida Gulf Coast a few years ago. Got a lot of starters back, so should be a decent RPI game, even if Southern Cal struggles.
The Intrust Bank Arena game this year on December 12th against Utah. That is a marquee matchup. It's also the debut of the aforementioned Connor Frankamp. You didn't think I'd go a whole video without mentioning him.
No, I have to mention Connor. Yeah, that may be the highlight of the non-conference schedule. Certainly, it's a great game in the city of Wichita. That it's nice to have the Shockers be able to bring in high-quality marquee opponents to Wichita.
Road trips to St. Louis and Seton Hall. You see any difficulty in either of those games?
St. Louis was really down last year. That's a game that'll be interesting to see how that program goes, because that's a really good series for Wichita State. But St. Louis really needs to pick it up and get back to where they were under Rick Majerus.
All right, let's get into the Valley. Last year, Wichita State won the conference, but with a real push from Northern Iowa. Do you see anybody capable of pushing the Shockers the way the Panthers did last season?
I don't think anybody's going to end up ranked in the top 10, like Northern Iowa was for a good chunk of the season. I think Northern Iowa will still be strong. I think Illinois State is probably the other team that should be able to challenge Wichita State to some degree, and the Valley apparently agrees they're going to be here on the last day of the regular season, and the Valley usually tries to set up that matchup for TV on that last day.
That's it. That's the TV matchup. That's all you got for me. 2 potential games out of 18 in the Missouri Valley Conference.
Well, I think Evansville will be interesting. I like what Loyola's doing. I don't know if they're ready to really challenge Wichita State, and I guess that is challenging playing them close, in a regular season game, or is challenging putting together a 16-2 kind of season. I think it'll be tough for those teams to do that.
You can tell we're really struggling to make a case for the rest of the Missouri Valley, especially in a year when the Shockers just look so dominant. Might be, I'm going to sound like a fool here, but this might be their best team.
Should be really good. When they've gone 18-0 and 17-1 in the Valley the last 2 years, we're really not out on much of a limb when saying they've been dominant. I guess my thought of the Valley would be, I don't think there's a second team that is as strong as Northern Iowa was last year. But maybe a little deeper. I mean, if Evansville, Loyola are kind of your 4th and 5th teams, it's got a chance to have some depth to this conference.
All right, Shockers begin the season November 7th with an exhibition game. Their regular season home opener, Friday, November 13th, Charleston Southern. Paul and I will be there for all the action. We look forward to talking to you more as the season goes on.